This is always a very exciting part of the show. We have a gentleman by the name of Jason McClellan here. He follows the news because on OpenMinds.tv we put up the news on a regular basis to keep you up to speed on what is happening in the UFO world. And we have Jason here to bring us a little bit of that information. Jason, are you there?
Alejandro, I am here. How are you, my friend?
Good, good. How are you?
Excellent, sir. Let's get started with news. Hello, everyone. This is your Open Minds news brief for Monday, October 10th, 2011. Well, we'll start off with a story about designs for a telescope that will search for extraterrestrial life. And these designs have just been approved. Researchers from Oxford and Durham universities designed the European Extremely Large Telescope, also called the E-ELT, which will reportedly be the largest instrument of its kind ever built. According to the Telegraph, the EELT will be sensitive enough to take images of previously unseen objects, such as cold stars and more planets, and learn more about their atmospheres, what they are made of, and whether they could support life. The European Extremely Large Telescope would operate under the European Southern Observatory, also known as the ESO, at a site in Chile. The decision of whether or not to begin construction on the EELT will be decided on by the ESO by the end of this year. And if approval is given to construct the EELT, it will be tens of times more sensitive than any other visible light sensing telescope on Earth.
Tens of times?
Yes, tens of times.
Wow. They should be careful to call it the extremely large because there'll be a bigger one that'll come along and then it'll be the kind of big telescope.
I'm sure they won't run out of things to say. You can always go larger.
The medium size.
The so-so telescope?
Yeah.
But you, my friend, are the king of coming up with additional superlatives. I don't know. You're very good at...
It's marketing.
Yes. You talk about the cajillions of planets, and I don't know. I enjoy the words you come up with.
If what you have...
Bigger and better.
...is 1 or 2 times better than what the competition has, the marketing rule is you, or at least my marketing rule, is you multiply that by a zillion or a zillion trillion. So that you say... What we have here, just like our radio show, is 2 zillion trillion times better than any other show on the internet. Exciting, isn't it? Makes you want to listen.
What was that exact figure?
2 zillion trillion.
I don't know where you got that number, but I like it. Let's go with it. Well, I have another news story here about... NASA, and they recently completed testing on a partially inflatable habitat that could be used on future missions to the moon, Mars, or deeper into space. Now, I'm going to describe this here a little bit, and it sounds really cool, and I think I want one. But this new habitat is yet another example of how NASA continues to make advancements in their effort to explore the galaxy and search for extraterrestrial life. The Habitat Demonstration Unit, also known as the HDU, was tested in the Arizona desert, which provided a somewhat Mars-like atmosphere. And Alejandro, you and I know that all too well. We live right in the middle of it. It's very Mars-like here. And according to MIT's Technology Review, quote, the current prototype housing unit has a hard cylindrical shell, contains 4 rooms, 2 outside additions for dust mitigation and hygiene, and an inflatable component that adds a second level for sleeping and relaxing. This thing sounds more luxurious than my house. Technology Review explains that the unit could be adapted for use on the moon, Mars, an asteroid, or even used as a free-flying space habitat. Watch out, Robert Bigelow. That sounds like that's kind of infringing on Bigelow's territory there, Bigelow Aerospace, with their inflatable habitats up in space. But the results gathered from the unit's testing were presented last week at the American Institute for Aeronautics and Astronautics Space 2011 conference in Long Beach, California.
Cool.
Very cool. And the pictures are cool. looks like this sort of mobile home, but much cooler looking than a mobile home. And they've even got these compartments where the little moon buggies can pull up and attach so the people from the moon buggy can get back into their little unit. But that's cool. Making developments there. And Alejandro, we talk about it every week. I think we are getting closer and closer to another manned moon mission or a Mars mission, or depending on who you talk to, our first moon mission. Sorry, I had to throw that in there, Alejandro. Just in case some people think we have never been to the moon, and that is debatable. In other news, we have a story about, let's see. Scientists speculate that ET civilizations are rare. And I don't know about this one, Alejandro. Tell me what you think. But the 62nd International Astronautical Convention, there seems to be a lot of astronautical conventions going on lately, but this is the 62nd International Astronautical Convention that took place recently at the International Convention Center in Cape Town, South Africa. SETI League Executive Director Emeritus Paul Schuch participated in the convention and spoke about searching for radio signals from extraterrestrial civilizations. In doing so, the topic of the WOW signal came up. And for those of you who don't know, the WOW signal was a radio signal detected by Dr. Jeremy Amon on August 15, 1977, with Ohio State University's Big Ear Radio Telescope. The signal, named after Amon's reaction, was, quote, so strong that it catapulted the Big Ear's recording device off the chart, end quote. And that's according to the Big Ear's website. The WOW signal has never been detected again. Schutz described it as, quote, one of those things that goes bump in the night and then is gone forever. The Cape Times explains that the signal, quote, bore all the hallmarks at the time of its detection of having a non-Earth origin, end quote. But after 34 years of silence, Schutz speculates that intelligent life is probably rare in the universe. At the conference, he explained, quote, when SETI science first started in the early 1960s, we optimistically assumed this would be a short-duration project and show immediate success. It's taken us this half a century to come to the conclusion that it's not going to be so easy. Civilizations are more rare, more elusive, end quote. And this, of course, is based purely on the lack of detected radio signals and makes the huge assumption that all extraterrestrial civilizations are out there broadcasting radio signals that we can pick up.
Well, and it all depends on this we, because we meaning this person and their buddies, because there were a lot of people, even in the SETI community, who knew it would be a long time and a difficult task. And, of course, in the general public of scientists, there are a lot of people who felt like it wasn't worth the effort, because even if there were extraterrestrials out there, like an article we wrote not too long ago with the NSA scientists who were talking about this, that there are so many technologies that we don't understand that most likely would be used by another more advanced civilization, that just listening to wavelengths that we know about might not ever be fruitful.
Right, and I don't know, we should probably clarify, and I assume there's a difference here, but just because something is called SETI doesn't mean they're all related. I mean, SETI, just the general term, is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And this gentleman in particular is from the SETI League, and I'm assuming that's different than the SETI Institute.
Yeah.
So you're right. The we, you know, there were different we's with differing opinions. Alejandro, I know you're going to love me for this, because I'm being consistent here again, and I've got another fireball UFO story for you.
There's a lot of them.
Watch out for those fireballs. Well, this one, a witness watched a fireball UFO burn its way across the sky above Sandusky, Ohio on the night of Tuesday, October 4th. 3 men witnessed the burning object, including Robert Lowry, a 7-Eleven clerk, who saw the UFO when he was carrying cardboard boxes to the store's dumpster. Lowry was hesitant to tell anyone about the event because of that horrible stigma attached to UFOs. He explained to the Sandusky Register, quote, that's one of those things. If there's nobody else around to see it, you don't go around talking about it. People will think you're crazy, end quote. 2 other men who were 2 blocks away from the 7-Eleven also witnessed the object in the sky. Daniel Harpst explained, quote, I looked up and this huge fireball went right over us. It was on fire and had a long streaming tail, end quote. Harp's friend, Monty Prior, added, quote, all I can tell you is it was a UFO, end quote. Harpst later came into the 7-Eleven where Lowry works and asked the clerk if he had seen the fireball UFO. The 2 men shared their experiences and agreed the object moved from the southwest to the northeast and disappeared somewhere over Lake Erie after approximately 4 seconds. According to the Sandusky Register, the FAA didn't detect anything unusual on radar that night. Local astronomers say the object was probably a meteor, but Lowry told the Sandusky Register, quote, I've seen a lot of strange things in my life, but this was a chart topper. But the UFO has now been identified according to the Sandusky Register. Bellevue astronomer and Huron Valley Astronomer Group president Paul Shulden claims the object was something called I just looked up how to pronounce this, Alejandro, and I don't remember.
Give it your best shot.
It's a bolide. That's how it's pronounced. It's a bolide. And a bolide is a bright meteor that often explodes. And I think you've seen a few of these, Alejandro, haven't you?
No.
Something similar.
Kind of.
But that's what this individual, this astronomer, says is what people saw. But we'll just have to take his word for it.
Well, it does sound sort of like an astronomical
It really
thing.
does, absolutely. And with just a period in the sky of 4 seconds, this kind of bursting and disappearing, absolutely.
I mean, driving out to the desert, like I've talked about often, I see things that are more amazing than what I had seen before, these incredible meteorites. And, of course, the one a few weeks ago was a chart topper. That was absolutely incredible. But, you know, I'm quite certain it was a meteor just gigantic breaking up in the sky.
Where are your pictures to prove it?
Well, it was only a few seconds. I have no proof.
Shame. For shame. No, I'm jealous you got to see that because that sounded like quite an event. And you're right. This does most likely sound like some sort of natural phenomena. So we'll let them have that one. But Alejandro, I've got another UFO sighting here. And this one's kind of fun. I like this one. So dozens of witnesses reported strange lights flying in a V formation above Kansas City, Missouri. According to Fox 4 News in Kansas City, a witness recorded the mysterious lights with a cell phone on the night of Monday, October 3rd. But other reports indicate that lights have been seen on multiple nights. According to Margie Kay, Assistant State Director for MUFON, that's the Mutual UFO Network, witnesses saw the lights on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of last week. She explains that the reports are of, quote, very large craft hovering in different areas, and that's quite unusual because normal airplanes do not have that behavior. Helicopters do, but these are not described as helicopters, end quote. Fox 4 News states that Kay contacted local airports looking for help identifying any of the 82 UFO sightings reported. The airport helped her determine that some of the sightings could be explained by stunt planes that were in the air at the time. Further evidence suggests that that stunt plane theory could be true. Fox 4 News reported on October 7th that KC Flight, a civilian air formation team, came forward to claim responsibility for the lights in the sky. Pilot Philip Lamb explained that he and his 8-man team, quote, practices at night because the city lights illuminate the planes, end quote. He further explained that, quote, during their flight, the plane's wings are typically 3 feet apart and are stacked approximately 3 to 4 feet above or below each other, causing the planes to appear like a single object from the ground, end quote. If the lights that were observed by at least 82 people were the result of city lights illuminating these stunt planes, it would seem logical to assume that the other airplanes in the sky are also illuminated by city lights, but other airplanes don't seem to have caused the buzz generated by the mysterious lights in the sky last week. Additionally, several witnesses reported seeing the lights hover, then shooting off quickly. As Kay previously stated, That isn't normal behavior for airplanes.
Now, but they had to have had lights on. I mean, it couldn't have been, I think, the reflections. They would have to have some sort of light on.
I would think so. That's
Especially if they're
FAA
flying at
regulations.
night.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a tough one.
But
Because,
also, other airplanes in the night are going to have lights on, and
but they're not going to be flying in formation. Like these guys supposedly were, right? They were stunt pilots?
correct. But if you look at the photos, and I think there's video, maybe just photo, but each of the individual lights is quite bright. You know, certainly brighter than you expect just a single airplane to be, with their lights and paired with illumination from city lights. I mean, they're abnormally bright. They could just be these planes. They could be because they're illuminated more because they're flying at a lower altitude. I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't think that it makes sense that illumination from city lights on planes, that's kind of silly. In the night,
I agree. I mean,
I don't think that's
unless
ever been seen.
they're flying like right above the street and
Yeah.
you've got the street lights.
but I could see, because I've been fooled with a plane that comes straight at you like we talked about. But I don't know. This is a tough one because if you had these planes in formation coming straight at you, these lights would look really bright. But they would probably look, well, if they were at a height, they might look like a V.
Correct.
But then turning, if they're coming right at you, they'll just look like they're hovering. And then when they turn, it could look like they shoot off. But when they turn, I mean, do they turn in formation?
Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, that's what these stunt planes do. They fly in really tight formation and then all move at the same time.
That
So they,
would
they
look
move in
weird.
unison. It looks weird. I don't know. I haven't seen it at night. So
What someone needs to do is go out and film them practicing.
exactly.
So then they can compare it.
Exactly. I will say that in just a brief search, I couldn't find this flight company
Mm-hmm.
online anyway, this KC Flight. I did find a company called KC Flight, but it was in a different state, and this KC Flight is supposedly in that same state. So I don't know about them. I don't know, I tried to find some video or photo of them doing their stunts, but I couldn't find any. So yeah, we just have this picture to work with and the witness testimony. But you make a good point with perspective. Sometimes planes coming at you, or if they're in formation and they're making this big turn in the sky, depending on what angle they're at, it could look like they're hovering for a little while anyway, but they are airplanes. They have to keep moving.
Yeah.
So the description of hovering and then shooting off quickly doesn't really fit with the airplanes. So
That's strange.
it's very strange,
Although
Alejandro.
I can still see it personally. I mean, if they're coming at you for like 5 minutes, that's a long time.
Exactly.
And they would. And smaller planes travel so slow, comparatively.
Well, and also if they're in a maneuver where they start climbing and then, from far away, it looks like they're just sitting there.
Yeah.
And then they go into a dive, then it's going to look like they're shooting off.
And if they're really flying at night, they're going to look weird, no doubt. They're going to be cool looking. I mean, they would be fun to watch because they would look different, just like, any.
Well, you've got this bizarre illuminated V kind of
Exactly.
doing weird things in the sky.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that. And Alejandro, that is it for the news. Be sure to check out all of these stories and so many more at openminds.tv, your source for UFO-related news. I'm Jason McClellan, your Open Minds news correspondent, and you've been briefed.